Honestly, they sold this as a turnkey car with perfect paint, but pulling the cover off was a huge surprise. Was the front bumper this wrecked when it was towed in? Yup. Damn. The Toyota badge is there, but the front crash bar is completely loose and rusted out from the inside. What a disaster. The Bondo is completely cracked. Just lift it up. I still owe $200 for the tow. This is way worse than I expected, but I love a good challenge. Let's do a full walk around and see just how bad this $5,200 baby really is. Holy crap, look at this Bondo. Grab a hammer and tap it, bro. Just look at how incredibly thick this filler is. WTF? Are they laying floor tiles here, bro? Look, it's solid Bondo. God knows what this car has been through. At least the headlights aren't cracked, and for the restoration, we know a guy. All the chrome trim has completely peeled off and looks like pure rust. Pop the hood, bro. Let's see what engine we're working with. Looks like a naturally aspirated motor. No turbo or intercooler here, just the throttle body straight to the intake. But an NA2JZ is perfectly fine. Let's check the rear. Whoa, that automatic trunk popped open and scared the hell out of me. You trying to eat me? This KFC wrapper looks pretty recent though. Let's check the driver's side. Oh man, it's right-hand drive. The door panels and dash are actually super complete. Wait, what the fuck is this? No worries, we'll just do a left-hand drive swap. But look at the seat foam. These are absolute rat turds. Rats chewed this all up. We debated what this gross stuff was, and the scene was so horrific it still haunts me. I can't believe I had to shovel out dozens of pounds of literal crap. I'm a mechanic. How did I end up a pooper scooper? Anyway, the interior is mostly cleared out. Now we're going to wash off a decade's worth of exterior grime so we can properly inspect the overall body condition.
Hold on, there's rust here too.
Oh crap, is this frame even fixable? Plastic bags? Oh my god, why are there so many plastic bags stuffed in here? What were they doing? We wouldn't have known if we didn't wash it. On other cars, sheet metal work is just regular body work, but the body on this Supra looks more like it got a literal expansion pack. The whole car is caked in thick, rock-hard Bondo. But hey, maybe that's a good thing. At least it proves the car was actually driven and not just completely abandoned. Let's start the teardown and see what other surprises we find. Alright, the rat crap is mostly cleared out. Let's hook up the battery and test this NA2JZ. Don't underestimate it, it made over 200 horses from the factory. Let's see if she fires right up. If she does, we struck gold. Forget the $5,200, it's all about the love from the fan who hooked me up. Power's on. Wow, every switch still feels crisp. And look, bro, it's a 5-speed manual. We can't pinpoint the exact year yet. The A80 ran from 93 to 02 with a facelift in 97. Since it's an NA, it's probably a pre-facelift 93 to 97. I was born in 92, so this 30-year-old A80 Supra is basically my age. Listen to that. Hear the warning chime? Ha! The AC lights came on! The dash is dead, but she's alive. Man, it feels like pulling someone back from the brink of death. She gave me a pulse. Let's try cranking it. Ah, no juice. Let's tap the starter and try again. Make sure it's in neutral. All right, let's go. We really wanted to hear the engine fire up, but sadly, no such luck. The starter is completely seized and the fuel pump might not be working either. So hearing the exhaust note of this Supra will have to wait. Next, we put it on the lift to raise it up and take a close look at the undercarriage. Let's see if the chassis has any surprises for us. Well, it's gone. It should look like a solid frame, but it's rusted into oblivion. This chassis is essentially scrapped. It's completely useless. Look over here. The metal is as thin as paper, completely soft. It must have been in a massive wreck back in the day, and the frame rails are completely bent out of shape. If it had a solid foundation, it wouldn't have rusted all the way through like that. How did the rail rot this badly? The rear subframe area is pretty bad, but not completely shot yet. When I saw this chassis, my mind honestly went blank. I had prepared for the absolute worst, but I never expected that one of the main structural rails on this Supra would be rotted out this severely. You have to understand, the main rails are the backbone of a car. With a main rail rusted like this, let alone driving it, even the vibration from the engine idling would probably snap it in half. Seeing this, honestly, I almost cried. The difficulty of this build is infinitely harder than the restorations I've done in the past. When you decide to restore a car, the most exciting part is the teardown phase. Why? Because you can be totally ruthless taking it apart. Plus, this car has been taken apart before, and when they put it back together, they basically just laid the parts in place. I can pull the intake off by hand. The radiator, pulled by hand. Condenser, pulled by hand. Even the hood was only held on by 3 bolts. That's it. Holy shit. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a clutch fan driven by the crankshaft. How fast the engine spins determines that woo-woo sound you hear. It's actually the fan. Inside, there's a viscous coupling. Damn, look at this. The frame is so brittle now. These rails are entirely like paper. Snap! The brake line broke. I barely touched it and the rusted brake line snapped clean off right inside the fitting. We'll have to rerun all the brake lines. This isn't a restoration anymore. This is literally building a car from scratch. But hey, the harder it is, the happier I am. Look at this old sealant job. See that? Haha. This is how they sealed up the previous accident damage? My God. Let me show you guys how terrifying it is under here. The top of the frame is just full of holes. This is the first time I've ever seen brake rotors still on the car that have rust etched right into the metal. You can imagine how long it's been sitting. Let's clear out all this rot together. Wait, don't throw that away. That is incredibly expensive. Get a box and pack it up safely. I looked it up. These headlights are like $7,000 or $8,000 a piece. The older these JDM cars get, the more expensive their headlights and taillights become. To thoroughly inspect the exact condition of this old guy, we have to strip off all the peripheral components. Wheels, brakes, suspension. We need to carefully inventory what can actually be reused. I remember when I was trying to take off this bolt, you realize, oh, the original bolt is completely rounded off from rust. Let me do it. Wait a sec, this tool isn't cool enough. Let's grab a cooler one. Ah, this feels much better. Haha. Taking off this fender, we finally see the exact condition of the right side chassis. You know, for every bit of brute force you use right now, you'll have to meticulously repair it later to get it put back together. No, you guys can't help me with this. It's rusted so viciously it has to be handled this way. I'm trying to save it right now. Holy crap, this is entirely scrap. Continuing the teardown. Turns out you don't need finesse for dismantling, right? An angle grinder and a sledgehammer are enough. Uh-oh, I don't know what to do here. This entire strut tower, at least from here all the way around, cannot bear any load anymore. If we keep using it like this, the moment the suspension takes a load, the shock absorber might literally punch straight through the hood. I feel a bit dead inside right now. Were they really this sloppy making exhaust pipes back in the day? This is just crush bent. They didn't even bother welding. Who knows, maybe the catalytic converter is still there. Let's check. Holy crap, it really is. Any bros out there buying antique catalytic converters at premium prices? Hit me up. After the surrounding accessories were mostly stripped off, this naturally aspirated 2JZ that failed to start was finally dropped to the ground. Even though it's NA, back in the day it was still a 225 horsepower performance engine. And we all know why the GTE was only rated at 280 horsepower. You guys can go look up the gentleman's agreement. Next, let's feel the shift action of this 5-speed manual gearbox. Wow, this feels incredible. Do you know what suction feel means? Just a little push. Listen to that feeling. Wow, perfect. My God, we swept out so much garbage again. If you told me this Supra came out of a literal dump, I'd have zero objections. Up to this point in the teardown, you bros can see that every single area is going to require a massive investment of time and money. Moving on to dropping the rear subframe, I found that it's actually not nearly as horrific as the front end. Under the spare tire well looks pretty factory, and the bolts are all quite clean. This is likely the first time the rear subframe has ever been manually dropped. The doors look like they've been repaired before. There's a ton of Bondo, but I have to marvel at the build quality back then. 30 years later, a lot of the plastics and weather seals on this car are still pliable. This is genuinely saving us a massive amount of cash. If you rebuild Supras often, you know that these weather seals are incredibly hard to source and insanely expensive. Next up is the glass. Luckily, the rear windshield is perfectly intact, even the defroster lines. The front windshield wasn't so lucky. It met its end after 30 years thanks to an accidental flying kick from me. Tearing down to this point, I think I've uncovered a little secret about this car. We chipped away such thick body filler right here, and the damage extends all the way into this inner layer. There's even cracking here, but the opposite side is perfectly fine. The structural patch on the opposite side is obvious. Let's set that aside for now. Let me first check if this NA2JZ is still alive. Last time it was in the car, it wouldn't crank because the starter was jammed. We just rebuilt the starter and bolted it back on. We've got the wiring sorted out, and I also pulled the exhaust headers off. Now all we need is a little sip of fuel to try and start this NA2JZ up. Get excited, boys. If she fires, I'd say the money was well spent. Honestly, I have a gut feeling this engine will definitely start. Last time we already checked the fluids, totally fine, and we did a quick compression test. But before attempting to fire it, I want to check the spark plugs again. Just as I was pulling the ignition coils out, I was stunned. The sitting water inside the spark plug tubes was practically overflowing, and a rat had chewed through one of the ignition wires. Now we're down to 5 cylinders. We have to clean out the water first before doing further checks. Let's pray this water didn't seep down into the cylinders, otherwise this engine is totally toast. Can you imagine how long this water has been sitting here? The area around the spark plugs is completely caked in oil sludge. We had to slowly scrape it out bit by bit. Once cleaned, we could finally pull the spark plugs, but there was one plug that refused to come out, no matter what. So subtract another cylinder, we are now working with a 4-cylinder 2JZ. Took a look with a borescope, and the inside of the cylinders actually looks fantastic. We'll torch these 5 spark plugs, heat them up, pop them back in, and we should be able to get this 2JZ started. I rigged up a fuel pump pulled from a GTR to feed it. It's a simple little DIY fuel system setup. Please remember not to try this at home. We have professional safety measures in place. Then I borrowed a battery from my Yaris. Now everything is set. We can finally try to fire it up. Careful now. Here we go. Ah, fuck. Why didn't it catch? Is there spark? Strangely, there's absolutely no sign of ignition. It could be that the spark plugs are still bad, or maybe the 4-cylinder 2JZ simply refuses to run. Let's grant its wish. Risking snapping the spark plug, we forced the seized plug out. Thankfully, it's still barely usable. Old Jin actually used super glue to repair the chewed-up spark plug wire. Sure enough, having an old veteran in the shop is a treasure. Now this Supra's engine is back to a full 6-cylinder setup. We can try cranking it again. Here we go. Ready to start.
Tried cranking it again, still failed. Looks like we've got a bigger issue. We pulled the fuel injectors and put them on the tester. Turns out only 2 out of the 6 were actually spraying fuel. No wonder she wouldn't start. Once again, we had to rob parts from its JDM cousin. We pulled 6 injectors off the GTR as a temporary fix. It's completely dark out now, and we've been wrenching on this thing for over 4 hours. We went from wanting to throw in the towel to getting absolutely hyped. No matter how late it gets, we are making this 2JZ fire up tonight after sitting dead for years. All right, boys, he's finally running and warmed up. Let me show you a nice little trick. Sure enough, the condition of this 2JZ is absolutely fantastic. It sounds buttery smooth while running. So with that out of the way, we can move on and continue tackling the chassis. After discussing it with you guys, I made the big call to order the body kit first. The lead time for a custom kit is always the longest, so we can work on the frame while waiting for the parts to arrive. Gotta say, I'm quite the excellent time manager. Because the original body panels are almost entirely crispy, and I mean literally crunchy like stale chips, we are replacing almost everything. Aside from the C-pillars and the roof, which are welded structural parts, every other panel is being bought brand new. We're talking front and rear wide-body bumpers, a carbon fiber hood, carbon fiber doors, carbon fiber rear hatch, and to top it off, some sick carbon fiber canards. Next up, we're dragging out the old auto rotisserie we used on our previous builds and mounting this Demon King, the classic nickname for the MK4 Supra, so we can properly spin the chassis around to work on it. Lock in those caster wheels, bro. Caster wheels. All right, it's time to send the bare chassis off for an acid dip and e-coat. We absolutely have to build this car to the highest possible standard. This hand grinding is going to take us 2 straight days, so hang tight. A lot of you guys said we should just sandblast it to save time, but honestly, if we did that, this Supra might literally disintegrate in the booth. The frame is so rotted that a light tap leaves a hole. High-pressure sand would blow this car into dust, bros. That's why we're sticking to the old-school woodpecker method, chipping it away by hand. Damn it, do you know how stubborn this car is to strip? I've been grinding forever, and this crap still won't come off. Can we just go buy a dry ice blaster? Watching videos of stripping seam sealer looks super satisfying, but any mechanic who's actually done it knows you'll grind until you question your life choices. I completely burned through a wire wheel. Look at this, it's worn down to absolutely nothing. The sheer scale of this job, man. After 10 solid days of grinding, it's finally mostly stripped. Let's step back and admire our handiwork. Next up is stitch welding the entire chassis for structural reinforcement. A lot of our armchair mechanics watching might be wondering why we're doing this. What exactly do these caterpillar-looking welds do? Well, I'm a bit tied up right now, so why don't you, being the handsome, smart, and rich guy you are, go down to the comments and explain it to the fans. With the chassis stitch welding done, we need to immediately tackle the undercarriage damage. At this point, a simple patch job won't cut it anymore. We're having to bust out the grinder. We're going to chop out every single piece of rotted metal on the body and weld in fresh sheet metal. Looking at the rust on this subframe, it's obvious this car lived a brutal life. I'm determined to bring it back from the dead, but the process is a total nightmare. Just to tear down this one section, we threw every tool in the shop at it until it finally came apart. What's crazy is when I popped the dust cap off the axle nut, it felt like time travel. The nut was shockingly pristine, like it had just been hiding in there, untouched, waiting for us to uncover it today. We're tossing all the remaining suspension bits into the sandblast cabinet to make them look brand new. Today, we're finally tackling that mangled frame rail. Everyone knows that when a main rail is this wrecked, well, if we can't buy a replacement panel, we fabricate it ourselves. We're going to mirror the intact rail on the left side and build an even stronger one from scratch. All the rotted metal is cut out. Now this next step determines if the rest of our build is just a massive waste of time. We set up a 3-point alignment to find the chassis center line, then used a laser level to get exact measurements on the deviation of both frame horns. Only with that data can we strap it to the frame machine and pull the left rail back to its factory specs. See this? The seams are completely split. We're tossing this whole section. We'll just use the base, extend it out, and weld the new piece in. The geometry on the old one was completely off. After clamping it down for 24 hours, the frame rail is finally sitting right. We're completely ditching the piece connecting to the strut tower and cutting out any remaining rust. From here on out, we are fabricating this entire frame rail completely by hand. Like our armchair mechanics in the comments said, we aren't restoring a car anymore. We're literally building one from scratch.
We planned this day out perfectly, but barely into the work, the welder crapped out. Had to blow another $3,800 on a new one. That hit right in the wallet. But of course, it wasn't going to be that easy. Just as we mocked up the frame horns and locked in the alignment, we hit a massive snag. The original aluminum subframe wouldn't bolt up. Our frame measurements were dead on, which meant only one thing. The subframe was bent. I had to call up an A80 buddy. Hey man, got a spare subframe? I'm fabricating frame rails and mine is tweaked. I need a straight one as a jig to align the chassis. We pulled some strings and borrowed a perfectly straight subframe. It bolted right up, proving our frame data was spot on. When it rains, it pours, but we're stubborn. We are determined to hand build this right. For now, we'll use this borrowed subframe as a template to finish fabricating the frame rails, and we'll figure out what to do with our bent subframe later. We built a double-layered frame rail using 2mm thick steel, making it way stronger than factory. We intentionally left small 2mm gaps in the seams. Why? For the E-coat. A master mechanic knows that when the chassis goes into the dip tank, the anti-rust coating needs those gaps to flow inside and seal the internal metal. The basic skeleton of the frame is now locked in. Over the next few days, we'll fine-tune the details and weld in internal gussets for extra rigidity. We also have to hand-build an alignment jig for the strut tower. We saved the original tower we chopped off earlier, so we just need to graft it onto the new rail. Get ready to see some serious custom fabrication. Look at these hand-fabricated frame rails. Can you even tell the difference from the factory side? I'm so stoked. We replicated every single little tab and dimple perfectly, but ours is way stronger. We even added the exact factory cutouts underneath. Now it's time to unbolt the borrowed subframe we used as a jig for the past 20 days and give it back. The delicate work is over. Now comes the heavy lifting. Bros, here comes the good part. With the main rails finished, we're moving to a race car essential, the roll cage. We 3D scanned the interior and designed a cage strictly to racing regs. To save time, we're tackling the cage and the sheet metal work simultaneously. We called in another favor and brought in a veteran body guy with over a decade of experience to handle the shell, especially those wrecked spots that need top-tier repair. At first, he didn't even know what car it was or why we were trying so hard, but after I showed him our teardown videos, he said something that hit me right in the feels. This car is lucky to have found you. It's truly reborn. Hearing that from a stranger means a lot. Despite the online haters, for me and all you armchair mechanics out there, getting this Demon King back on the track is the only thing that matters. Body work is underway. Now let's get this cage welded in. Time for the Demon King's transformation. We can finally test fit the new body kit. But first, we gotta chop up the shell. Like you said, drift cars are all about maximum weight reduction. So if we're gonna cut, we're cutting all the way. Let's get chopping. Honestly, I grit my teeth every time I cut into the shell. Does it hurt to chop up a classic? Whatever, it's the only way to make it better. Now it's time to get this Drift Demon King off the frame machine for good. The hardest part is behind us. 1, 2, 3, lift. Wow, it's light. 1, 2, 3, up. Haha, slot it in. Watch your hands. 1, 2, 3, go! Finally, in the new bay, the chassis phase is officially done. Today's job, this massive 38,800 RMB body kit behind me. We're throwing it on the car today, but this kit is really just for mock-up. Bet you didn't expect D-FactStory could look this cool, huh? Now that the body kit is mocked up, it's time for the 3D scanning. The factory panels are completely warped and the mounting points are totally out of whack. We have to pull every single piece back off and scan them one by one. Looking at this CAD render is so incredibly satisfying. It feels like our Drift Demon King jumped straight out of a video game.
Remember those beat-up headlights? Look at them now. We added 2 DRLs for a slightly more modern aesthetic. But the real highlight is the tail lights. Remember how pathetic they looked? We're 3D scanning them. For car shows, we'll run the real housings, but for drift practice, we'll yank them out and just slap on some blanking plates to save cash if we crash. We grinded from dawn till dusk. Now for the main event, the final step before the E-coat dip, laser rust removal on the bare shell. To get it perfect, we balled out and bought a brand new laser cleaner. Honestly, it's my first time using one. Let's test it. Holy shit, that's a little terrifying. Money well spent. The laser strips it so fast and clean. Like they say, if you want it done right, you gotta buy the right tools. Now we pull overtime to finish blasting the shell, so we can finally take the Demon King for a nice hot spring bath in the dip tank. After 3 straight days of work, the bare chassis is finally fully prepped. We also completely re-engineered the transmission mounts. As for why, I'll keep you guessing on that for now. It's officially time to send this shell off for the E-coat dip. It's been a long time coming. Bros, the flatbed is here. I bet this is the first time you armchair mechanics get to see a Demon King get E-coated. So let your trusty expert break down what each dip tank does. Tank 1 is the degreaser. Just like it sounds, it strips all the oil and grease off the bare shell so the E-coat can bond perfectly. After that, it gets a double water rinse to wash off any leftover degreasing fluid. Now we're at tank number 4, the silane bath. This lays down a pre-treatment anti-corrosion film over the bare metal. Take notes, guys, this step is crucial. After a triple water rinse to wash off any chemical residue, we finally hook the Demon King up to the electrodes. Here comes the main event. After washing off the excess E-coat, we locked the shell in the curing oven. 3 hours at 200 degrees Celsius later, we finally brought the Demon King home. Looking at it now, it reminds me of the immortal jellyfish, reborn from its own remains. I swear this metal shell is breathing, feeling the hype of its own resurrection. Next up, the engine. These offset journals convert up and down motion into rotational force. Every explosive punch from those 6 cylinders slams into this shaft, but this fully counterweighted crank can easily handle 1800 HP from the pistons and rods. But power is useless if things don't stay aligned. That's why it needs these massive main bearing caps bolting it solidly to the block. They keep the crank spinning perfectly true, because if the crank walks, the engine is completely toast. Next up are the forged pistons and connecting rods. the components responsible for delivering extreme pressure to the crankshaft. Think of the pistons and rods like a fighter's fist and arm. They have to be developed together. You can't have a hard fist but a weak arm. Not only will you lack punching power, but you'll also end up throwing a rod. That's why we went fully forged. Across these 6 cylinders, they can support a massive 1,500 horsepower. Do the math for me. How much horsepower is that per cylinder? Here's a crucial detail: the 3 piston rings. According to the assembly manual, we have to file these rings down to precise gap clearances before installation. When dropping them in, you have to perfectly stagger the gap angles between the rings. You can never line up the 3 gaps together or your compression will blow right by and leak out. Now that the short block is coming together, I have to highlight the coatings. Not only do the piston crowns feature an exquisite ceramic coating, but all the valves on our cylinder head are fully coated too. This ceramic layer doesn't just increase heat resistance, it also prevents carbon buildup on the bare metal, stopping those hot spots that cause engine-killing detonation. Dropping each piston in and torquing the rod bolts means the short block is officially complete. Piece of cake. To mate the cylinder head and block together, we need a critical component, the composite head gasket with fire rings. This is an absolute must for high horsepower setups. Even perfectly machined surfaces deform slightly under heavy boost, so this gasket isolates the water channels and seals massive cylinder pressures and extreme heat way better than traditional steel gaskets. It's the ultimate insurance policy. I'll go ahead and torque the head studs to factory spec. I haven't wrenched heavily in years, but I've got plenty of brute strength. Click, 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 the torque wrench goes off non-stop. I'm sweating buckets, but a man can never admit defeat on camera. With the head bolted down, we broke out the 276 high-lift camshafts for this 2JZ. Setting valve bucket clearances is a brain-melting job, so we handed that tedious work to old Jin's apprentices while we went to supervise the paint job. You chose the factory Toyota GR Pearl White. The painters joked around at first, completely unaware they were working on the Demon King. After a little flex from us, they got serious. Soon the car rolled out flawless. Crisp white paint paired perfectly with a gold roll cage. Back at the shop, the properly sized valve shims arrived and we finished the assembly. When the final cam bolt was tightened, all the heavy-hitting internal parts were officially sealed inside. Now we begin the complete aesthetic dress-up for this 2JZ. You see purple 2JZs everywhere, but we are going a totally custom route. CNC billet valve cover, CNC intake manifold, CNC water necks, a custom hand-fabricated exhaust header, a massive turbo, a gigantic wastegate, and gold adjustable cam gear. Titanium hardware locked in. NGK heat range 9 spark plugs threaded in. Next up is our GTR ignition coil kit. Obviously, we're gunning for the 1,000 horsepower mark, so the spark needs to be massive and rock solid. GTR coils are the absolute top choice. And now for the final piece of the puzzle. Just this one single pulley alone blew an 800 USD hole in my budget. I don't know if this 2JZ build will get the seal of approval from you armchair mechanics, but honestly, after not assembling an engine for so many years, my emotions are running high right now. I vaguely remember how in the past, an engine build like this would be packed exclusively with foreign brands, but today, 80% of the parts inside this forged combustion engine are made right here in China. Whether it's craftsmanship or price, we haven't fallen behind one bit. We really aren't the followers we were 10 years ago. We are the pioneers pushing the boundaries. And this beating heart is the ultimate proof of our capabilities. It's finally off the engine stand. The next step is to mate it to our ZF 8HP90 transmission, drop it into the chassis, and test fit the whole powertrain to see how it sits. Get it out there. Now, this mock-up install doesn't mean it's time to fire it up yet. We're test fitting this whole new setup to make sure nothing hits the chassis. Every time you shift or go full throttle, the engine has a bit of movement. We have to guarantee that it doesn't strike the body, or you'll be hearing some nasty, violent knocking sounds. We've got the plan, so we're adjusting the transmission positioning now. By the next time we drop it in, it'll be for real, ready for the first startup. Brothers, get hyped for that day. We've also had the entire Demon King subframe and chassis components sandblasted and fully restored. We're pushing hard to get this 2JZ fired up before the Lunar New Year. The whole crew is fired up and locked in. This is our first time transplanting a German gearbox into a Japanese chassis. So for the transmission mounts, we have to fabricate a custom pair from scratch. But for us, that's just bread and butter. Simple steel fabrication. Just like that, bam, quick work, the custom transmission mounts are done. With this, the gearbox is locked in and ready to go.
Not only that, I hit up our supplier for an enlarged CCO oil pan. Knowing we've entered the final assembly phase, our wheel designer showed up on site to help. Drift cars chew through tires, so our inventory has to keep up. We designed 6 sets for a total of 24 wheels. As for the transmission, Li Shen developed a custom sequential shifter for us. Paired with a standalone ECU, it gives our ZF H8P the exact shifting logic and efficiency of a true sequential gearbox. By tuning the ECU, we can multiply the response speed and instantly cut power using the clutch, saving us a massive amount of money compared to a dedicated sequential box. With the holidays approaching, many parts are delayed in transit, but we couldn't just wait around. We bolted on the high-angle steering and chassis components first. We quickly realized the stock shocks were too long, and since our KW coilovers hadn't arrived yet, we just chopped the stock springs for now to get the stance right. Right then, our first set of sponsored wheels arrived. Everything seemed to be going smoothly, but the next step caught me off guard: the water cooling layout. You guys were right, drift cars rarely go straight, so a rear-mounted radiator optimizes weight distribution, lowers engine bay heat, and cleans up the front end. We mounted a massive radiator with high RPM fans in the back and secretly ran custom aluminum piping underneath for better thermal efficiency. Combined with all the dry fittings, this cooling setup alone cost us $14,000. If we want to start the engine soon, we have to finish the fuel system, but my decision to order custom black and gold AN fittings massively delayed their production, so we pivoted to assembling the explosion-proof fuel cell instead, running 3 AEM high-flow pumps to feed those 6 1700cc injectors. Next, we tackled the racing seat and floor-mounted pedal box. After mocking them up and climbing in and out multiple times, we found a fatal flaw. Even with the seat dropped to the floor, there wasn't enough headroom for a helmet, and the pedals were too high, leaving the driver cramped up in a ball. You simply can't drift like that. This meant we had to cut the chassis again. I know people will say it's a waste since we just had the chassis E-coated for rust prevention, but the E-coat already did its job on the hidden internal cavities. The car absolutely has to fit the driver. After fighting with myself over it, the conclusion was simple. When you hit a problem, you fix it and get the job done. Just as we were fully immersed in how perfect the seat and pedal position felt, Master Han hit us with a massive bombshell. The steering rack doesn't fit. We bought a BMW E46 rack, but because our engine position is perfectly centered, the steering rack housing was hitting the subframe. If the rack isn't centered, the steering geometry is impossible to dial in, so we had to scrap it. We needed a rack with the right width and the right ratio. After a few headaches, we locked in an electric power steering rack. The ratio is sharp, and more importantly, it fits perfectly. Of course, the part supplier went on holiday right when we needed the fuel line fittings, so we let the crew rest for 10 days. Then we came back at full strength for the final push. After the Spring Festival, we rushed straight into the build. Master Han led the charge. This A80 Demon King had to make it to the Suzhou modification show. From a pile of scrap to the Demon King, this was its debut. Time was tight. We pulled the steering rack off my GTR and grafted it onto the Supra. In terms of width and ratio, the GTR rack is a perfect match. The rest was just Master Han doing what he does best, hand fabricating the custom mounts. It took 2 days, but he nailed the fitment. I'm confident that with the GTR rack, the Demon King will point exactly where we want it to. For the electric power steering pump, we went with a mini unit. And I have to point out this complex bracketry. Master Han fabricated that from scratch too. Once the steering was sorted, we faced one last hurdle that couldn't be planned: a bulletproof drive shaft. We wanted to use a GTR drive shaft, but since our transmission is a ZF conversion, the drive shaft length is totally unique. We tried everything, but the GTR shaft didn't fit. Just as we were stuck, you brought in Old Wang. He's the expert. As they say, ginger gets spicier with age. He took one look, measured it up, downed a couple of drinks, and the next day a perfectly sized custom drive shaft was in my hand. We even swapped the rubber couplers for solid metal inserts, removing all the mush for a direct, aggressive power transfer. It's definitely going to shred tires, but I know you've got the connections to help me if I break anything. Everything was coming together, and finally, after a 5-month wait, our KW racing coilovers arrived. This is the part we waited for the longest. But as we went to bolt them up, you noticed it. The top mounts were missing. I panicked for a second. Turns out I'd ordered them to match the factory top mounts. Luckily, we hadn't thrown the originals away. We modified them and they bolted right up. We also installed the TIS drift spec calipers. Looking at that vibrant, colorful undercarriage, aren't you guys just feeling energized? Finally, the wheels and the gold tires I spent a fortune on arrived. I don't know if it's just hard to get tires or if the suppliers didn't take us seriously, but we're going to burn through these like nothing. If any tire brands want to sponsor us, tag them in the comments. With the running gear done, we finished the fuel and brake lines. We routed everything with stainless steel hard lines and custom Teflon braided hoses. It's clean, it's permanent, and it shows the craftsmanship. Let's take a moment to admire our masterpiece. With the chassis work finally behind us, we were standing there, staring at the Demon King, itching to see how it would sit on the ground. We had spent so many sleepless nights obsessed with the stance and fitment, but the moment we lowered the jack, disaster struck. We thought our wide-body kit combined with the new high-angle chassis components would clear the wheels easily, maybe just a slight trim on the front fenders. Instead, the tires were grinding into the fenders before the car was even fully down. It was a complete dead end. There was no way it could even steer, let alone drift. We had to pivot, and we had to do it fast. We raised the ride height just enough to get the wheels turning, then measured the extreme points of travel. We didn't waste a second. We emergency scanned the front end in 3D and called our lead design partner to model a custom wide-body kit. It needed to look aggressive, match the factory lines, and provide the clearance we desperately needed. While we waited for those 3D printed fender flares to arrive, we finally moved the Demon King off the support stand it had called home for 3 months. It was a rainy spring day, but the car finally took its first breath of air in 2026. It felt like the car was finally waking up.
Then came the wiring loom, the nervous system of the beast. This wasn't just installing wires, this was an art form. It's an incredibly complex task, and we watched Master Jin spend days painstakingly routing the front, middle, and rear sections to connect every sensor. The tension in the shop was unreal. It felt like every day had 25 hours. Excitingly, our livery samples finally arrived. White for the soul, purple for the hellfire that represents this Demon King's rebirth. We kept the final look under wraps for the show. 3 frantic days later, the 3D printed fender flares arrived. Even though it's a drift car, we treated the finish with perfection, reinforcing the back with resin to match the strength of fiberglass before painting. We were on the clock, only 5 days left until the expo. We were all running on pure adrenaline. We DIY'd the windows using polycarbonate instead of acrylic. It's slightly less transparent, but the durability is dozens of times higher. We also fitted threaded inserts for all the wide-body bolts so the stress load is distributed, keeping the flares rock solid. Seeing the wheels and fenders finally clear was a massive relief. Then Master Han finished the custom intercooler piping with V-band clamps. No matter how much boost we run, those pipes aren't popping off. The Demon King's wiring was finally in place, and the whole team waited for the first awakening. But when we powered it up, the PDM, the power distribution module, had no program. Writing it from scratch right there was impossible. A wave of exhaustion hit us hard. We had tried our best, but reality is reality. Should we cancel? No. I made a call. We're pushing it to the show anyway. I believe the fans want to see the Demon King no matter what. We decided to let every fan who visits sign the bodywork. This car will carry all our expectations until it unleashes its power. We scrambled to finish the electronic shifters, handbrake, and seat mounts. The ECU and PDM tuning, the real brain surgery, began. We're using an ECU master setup, a first for us, so we brought the car to a professional team to help us tune it. Before the first fire-up, we flushed the fluids. Here's a pro tip. Use cheap, standard fluids for the first startup. You're just looking for leaks and initial break-in. Don't waste the high-end stuff yet. We ran into one final headache. The throttle body wouldn't calibrate. We took it apart and finally found a microscopic burr on the bearing edge that caused it to stick. One small fix saved us $1,000. After a final spark plug check and welding the downpipe to prevent O2 sensor leaks, everything was set. We had faced mechanical failures, shipping delays, and bodywork nightmares. But we were here. Everything was prepped, the team was ready, and the Demon King was waiting. Come on, let's fire it up! Ready? Let's try it. Finally, we have life. All that effort wasn't wasted, and we can't afford any slip-ups now. Even though it wasn't perfectly smooth, we finally heard its first startup. Although the idle is unstable, we've waited 8 whole months for this exact sound. It's like a baby's cry putting our anxious hearts to rest, or the Demon King whispering, making the hair on my arms stand up. But this is just the beginning, so we couldn't get too emotional. We immediately trailered the car overnight back to our Nanjing shop. The current fueling and ignition were barely keeping it running, so we needed Lao Jin to dial in the tune to get the engine into a proper break-in state. But who would have thought this next phase would drag on for over a month? Once we got back, we calibrated the throttle signal and adjusted the idle fueling to try and get it to hold a steady idle. But we quickly realized it would stall out after 30 seconds every single time. We initially suspected the massive 1700cc injectors were just too big to idle cleanly, so we swapped back to stock GTR injectors, but the stalling persisted. At that point, the issue was obvious. It had to be mechanical timing. We pulled it apart and realigned the phasing on both high-angle camshafts, discovering that the adjustable cam gears had indeed thrown the base timing off. After reassembling it and adjusting it, the engine could finally idle, but then it started randomly misfiring. Things always go like this. The closer you get to the finish line, the harder it fights you.
We spent over 20 anxious days tearing our hair out until we finally traced the problem back to a part you would never expect: the stock cam gear signal trigger. Looking at the factory gear, there's a spot meant to be a signal marker, but it's completely flat. This caused the cam sensor signal to be incompatible with our new standalone ECU, making the timing go completely haywire. Our fix is brutal but simple. We're just going to cut that section off completely. A massive 20-day headache, all caused by a weird quirk on a factory piece of hardware. Seriously, who in their right mind would have ever thought to check that? Get in the car. It's been a whole month dealing with these messy issues, so let's see if Lao Jin is as confident as he claims. Oh wait, the fuel pump isn't on. Sorry. All right, here we go. Holy crap. Our tuner showed up to finally get the Demon King synced up, and practice really does make perfect. He made quick work of the transmission tune, gave us a quick lesson, typed away on his laptop for a bit, and just like that, our drift machine was running perfectly smooth. You really have to keep learning your whole life, and you have to respect these tech guys. Lao Jin had been stuck on this for weeks, and the tuner fixed it in just a few hours. Finally, the Demon King is completely revived. Watching it move under its own power, I felt a bit dumb that it took us so long, but I also felt incredibly proud. Nobody I know has built something quite like this. We actually pulled it off. Now the most urgent task is getting the car to the fabrication shop for a custom exhaust. Otherwise, the raw fumes are going to permanently gas Lao Jin inside the cabin. After a month of testing, the entire undercarriage is already blackened with soot. Since we stroked the engine from 3 liters to a 3.4 liter and are aiming for 800 wheel horsepower, a standard diameter exhaust just isn't going to flow enough. We brought it to the shop to fabricate a 10.2mm or 4-inch full titanium exhaust system. It sounds incredible, eliminates excess exhaust back pressure, and extends the life of the turbo. While we were at it, we swapped the intake piping to titanium too. It doesn't actually improve thermal efficiency, but it looks absolutely killer. Paired with the V-band clamps we set up earlier, the engine bay is flawless. I definitely need to turn this build into a scale model so you guys watching can own one too. Alright guys, all our piping is officially titanium. Titanium intake, titanium mid-pipe, titanium exhaust. This 4-inch piping looks absolutely massive, doesn't it? Now it's time to properly appreciate the true exhaust note of our Supra. Come on, baby. Wow, look at my hands. They're literally shaking. Turn on the taillights. After hearing that exhaust note, we transitioned out to the paddock. Just look at this shot, guys. Can you even imagine what this car used to look like? Now it literally looks like it jumped straight out of a video game. Reaching this stage means the build series for our Drift Demon King has officially come to a close. Next up, guys, we'll be taking this machine to battle at circuits everywhere. But today, for the very first time, we are presenting the fully completed Demon King to all of you. It's been a massive journey, and I truly want to thank all of you guys watching for sticking with us. People have asked me if spending so much time, energy, and money on this build was actually worth it, and I've never really given an answer. But today, seeing the Demon King finally ready for battle, I'll say this. I carved out a chapter of my life to run recklessly toward a single goal, and that kind of fearless dedication, whenever I look back on it, it will always be a beautiful thing.